I am live. Hello. Can everybody hear me okay? I can hear me. Boom, 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 boom. Testing, testing. Dun, 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 dun. All right. I'm going to go with the assumption that I'm not looking like a fool and everyone can hear me. Wow, it's really dark in this room. Test successful. Perfect. Excellent. How's everyone doing today, this afternoon, this morning, tonight, yesterday, tomorrow, whatever time zone you're in? Is anyone else suffering from a heat wave at the moment? It is blistering hot where I am. Hello, everybody. Another day in paradise, indeed. Indeed. So I won't get too deep into the weeds just yet, just in case there's a few stragglers coming in. But I'll talk briefly about what I've... Heat wave in Switzerland. Oh, man. Yeah, it is so hot. I just redid my roof. Which, man, I don't know if you've had to adult yet. I don't know how old everyone is in the chat, but spending like $8,000 on a roof is not my idea of where I want to spend my moolah. It was very depressing. So I took a lot of pictures of my roof to show to everyone, just because it's all I got to show for all that money. Boo-hoo. 25 degree. Yeah, what is it here? What is the weather? I don't know. So I've spent the last couple of days over at Maxim's house. Maxim's the composer. And he had started working on the score a while back, even before the Kickstarter. So if you ever go and look at the teaser, he scored that. And I had given him some notes based off of the script and what the vibe was and how I wanted it to feel. And so he had started coming up with a few little pieces here and there, nothing too deep, just because you don't want to go down a rabbit hole too far. And then once we started sending off the rough cuts to him, he got a little bit deeper, but not too deep, because the way I like to work in post with the scoring is I like to be in the room, and I like to go. I know enough about music that I understand the language. I used to play saxophone and violin growing up, and my family's very musical. I've got a cousin who's a drummer who was in a band that was adjacent famous in Canada, and toured a lot and opened for some really big bands and stuff. So I understand that language pretty decently. So when it's time to do the scoring, I like to be in there so I can, have some input. And my input is generally, hey, I like what you're doing, but I think instead of piano, this should be violins or a cello or whatever, right? Or, hey, let's bury this a little bit more in the track and bring this up a little bit more, stuff like that. And again, I have always said I'm very collaborative, so I like to let the composer, in this case, it's been Maxim for like the last, 7-8 years we've worked together. He does like 95% of the work, and I'm just like over here nudging. This is basically what a director's supposed to do anyway. It's just like nudge things into where the vision is supposed to go. And most of the time, Maxim just nails it anyway. And every once in a while, he'll go off on something where it's not quite the mood I'm going for. Or it could be something like, this scene didn't do what I wanted it to do, and now the music has to do a little bit of the heavy lifting to get some sort of emotion out of someone, or whatever it is. So the music's we've been working on that in earnest. So I've logged. Yesterday I worked from, 10:30 in the morning until about 4 o'clock working on the score. And the same thing on Monday. What's today? Wednesday? Yeah. So Monday and Tuesday I did that, and then took a pause, and Friday we'll be right back at it, probably from 10 in the morning until probably 4, and then I go to work at my cafe. And then that snowball is rolling. I'd say we've gotten 25 minutes worth of scoring, like done, which is more than half the film or project. So I'm pretty happy with that. Other stuff that's going on, the sound design is getting closer and closer to being done. There is definitely light at the end of the tunnel for that. So really it's I'm going back and forth over what's like the mundane stuff that's been missed. So all like the punching and hitting and kicking and all that like super obvious stuff is in there. And now it's just a matter of finding like the little moments like cloth movement or Dietrich smokes a lot in one of the in a couple of scenes. So when he's taking a drag on the cigarette, and like I was also at my cafe today renovating, so I've got plaster on my hands. So like that drag of the cigarette, so that like that kind of, that was not the right sound, but you know what I mean, that sound that you get from a cigarette when you pull a drag on it, like stuff like that. So that's being worked on. Cleaning up audio has like just dialogue. That's been a process. So that's almost done. So there's a lot of stuff that's like near the finish line. And then once all that's done, then it's just a matter of mixing it. I am working on, I thought I had picture lock, but then as I was working, there was this one scene that was kind of bothering me and I hadn't figured out like a fix for it. And then while I was doing sound design stuff, I was like, oh, I think I have a fix. And I messed around with it and sent it off to Jean-Luc. And he's like, I think you're on the right path. And so there's just like this one little teeny section where I'm like twiddling around trying to figure out if I can get it just a little bit better. I'm basically trying to squeeze blood from a stone at this point. Like the film is pretty much, it is what it is. And it's just like me nitpicking where I can nitpick and from there. Other behind the scenes stuff where I have to be a little more vague. Carson and John Cassar are working behind the scenes on things that are bigger than Rogue Elements, but Ryan Drake related. And that is going in, a slow but positive direction. So that's, it's not much to go on, but it is kind of exciting. I try not to get myself like excited over stuff that's being told to me about yeah, exactly. Self-reliant Tamagotchi. Yes. Boop. Bigger things, TM. Yeah. So I try not to get myself too excited just because I've been down the road. I've gotten so close so many times with projects where it's like, people who need to see things and have seen things and then it's just fallen apart. So like I've just learned not to like get my hopes up on stuff like that. So I am concentrating on Rogue Elements and having fun doing that. With that being said, I have 2 bits of the score for you to listen to. And I just threw some behind the scenes photos on there and I did not like double check what I threw on there. So apologies if it's boring or if there's like 3 pictures of the same thing. I just legitimately threw something on. So, cause I thought StreamYard could just stream an audio, but I got to send it off as a film. Anyway, so set up for both of these kind of sections of the score. So the first part you're going to hear is the intro to the movie. And this is establishing what's going on with a couple of the main characters. And I don't want to give away too much. So, but it's setting the tone and the vibe. And if you've read the books and you hear what's going on in the music, you may be like, oh, I understand why that's there. But it's definitely a nod towards one of the characters and their past. And then the second part is Ryan Drake kicking ass and taking names. And there is buried in there is a Ryan Drake theme that is throughout the project, that rears here and there, which I was pretty adamant about. And it shows up in, like, for those of you who've read the books, the reason why I like Ryan is because he's not like a white knight, cookie cutter, good guy. He's a bit of an asshole when he wants to be, and he is not always right, and he does things that get him in trouble. And I think his theme reflects that in certain ways. And I wouldn't necessarily say he's a hero or anything. He's just a normal person that makes mistakes just like everybody else, type thing, that occasionally does some heroic things. Okay. Are you guys still talking about the weather? Do we all need to get this out of our system? All right. So let's see if I can get this going. So I'm going to hit again. We talk about everything. Very good. This is the weather podcast. We will spend the next 45 minutes afterwards talking about the weather for the next week and a half. Okay, here we go. Video file. And if Rogue Elements. Video. Oh, I am up to Rogue Elements Fine Cut 5.0. For those that are wondering, I had gotten to, I want to say 6.0 on the rough cut. Let me look at that. 4.1. So that was how many cuts? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's 12 rough cuts. 12 different iterations of the film. All right, to the score. So this next part coming up will be Ryan Drake. Whoa, studs. There we go. All right. How do I stop that? There we go. So yeah, that was two sections of the score. There's still lots and lots more of score to come, but that especially the second one, that dun 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 dun, that part, that's a bit of the Ryan Drake theme, which is sprinkled throughout. And the neat thing, without having seen that scene, I was telling Max, I was like, okay, this scene, you kind of like, Ryan kind of starts out heroic, and then he gets a little maybe too aggressive, and he is less heroic. And there's like a bit of like almost like a Jaws theme where he's like not quite hunting bad guys, but like that was kind of the note I was giving him. I was like, he's not really. Oh, I just missed it. You know what? At the end, maybe I'll play it again. How about that? And so, yeah, his morally gray, personality kind of comes through in the music. And then at the start, kind of without giving away who that represents or whatever, I think someone was asking about this. Is the lady's voice a paid vocalist or an older repurposed track or synthesized? I don't know anything about music. That is a synthesized voice. So you can get very high renders of vocal performances from different backgrounds and different sounds and all of that fun stuff. And it's fun to play with. And at first I wasn't sure if I wanted that in there, but I think it ties in nicely with the character that it kind of plays with. And so, will the whole soundtrack be available somewhere? So I know there was like a backer level that if you backed it at a certain level, you do get like the soundtrack. I'm sure we'll come up with something somewhere for something so people can hear the soundtrack. So in a nutshell, that's kind of what I'm focusing on now, is just those last minute things. So I think what I will do, since I really don't have too much other things to talk about that's pertinent to what I'm doing, is I'll open the floor to you guys and gals. I'll send an invite link, and I don't use StreamYard too much. So I'm not unlike Will, although he's messed up a couple of times on these streams. I'm not 100% sure what I'm doing. So let's see. Invite. Here's the invite link. Boop. Now, I'm wondering, do I put that link? Did he put that in the comment section? Is that where he put that last time? Was anyone here last time for that? All right, I'm just gonna do it. I'll put it in here. Boop. I don't know if anyone can like copy and paste that if they want to pop on. So you can ask me anything you want. We can chit chat about whatever. And even if it's a question that's been asked before, it really doesn't bother me. I'm going under the assumption that most people here don't know how everything's made movie-wise. So I'm more than happy to answer those questions. Video file. Wow, that is going. Let's see. Rogue Elements torture scene showed that. What else? What other little goodies do I have back here? Cannot talk. I will wake up people. Oh. You can whisper talk. Just talk like this. BUT station. What do I got in the behind the scenes stuff? Anything interesting? What mix will we get? Stereo, surround, or Atmos? Good Lord. I don't know. It really depends. But I feel like most people are just going to be watching this on their computer, so I really don't know if it's worth the extra dollars it's going to take to do a mix like that. I've mixed my film Paper Trail, which is kind of like the very first kind of actiony film I did after I was done film school. That was actually professionally mixed in surround sound. I also color graded that at Technicolor, which was really neat. What is this? Is this I think I might have some footage of like a motorcycle stunt. Let me see. This is all Bjorn's footage. Where's my footage? Oh yeah, here we go. All right, so there's a motorcycle stunt in the film, which, long story short, Will and I had written a scene a certain way, and it got changed. And maybe I'll talk about it on a stream after everyone's seen the film, and we can talk about like what's different from how we wrote the script, why it was different. But yeah, here, okay, let's see this. How long is this? 27 seconds. Which this one? 56 seconds. Let's take a look at this one. This is raw stuff. This is straight from my phone. This is not edited. So let's see. Oh no, sideways. Everyone tilt their heads. Okay, I'm remembering now. That jogged my memory. So that was her first kind of run through, just kind of getting a feel for Alex, the stunt guy. She had done a bunch of rehearsals without him there, and one or two with him there. And I think when the camera was rolling, it took her a couple of tries before we were able to get it. Hey, look, there's someone here. Perfect. I'll bring you in just a second. And then the other thing, what was really cool is I forget her name, but she does all the motorcycle stunts and just motorcycle driving in the film. And she played RC in Transformers: Rise of the Beast, which was really cool. Really, really cool person. She was fun to have on set. Very high energy, positive energy stuff. All right, let's add to stage. Hello, DKH. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, and I can hear you. Look at that. How's it going?
I'm doing all right.
Awesome. What's up?
Not much. Just checking this out. Wonderful footage.
Sweet. What questions do you have, if any, about the filmmaking process, any of that stuff?
I still don't have quite a grasp of how far along you are.
Okay. So yeah, I can update you guys on that. So I've been pretty loosey goosey about saying when I'm going to be done, just because of all the stuff that comes up in post that inevitably comes up. So personally, I'm hoping to have everything done by the end of June. My original timeline was I was hoping to have everything done by the end of May. But personal stuff gets in the way for all kinds of different reasons, not just for me, but for other post people. And part of the thing with I try to tell people with these types of projects is even though you're paying people, you're not necessarily paying them nearly what they're worth. And when a bigger show comes along or a bigger project, they typically put your project on pause and peace out and do that and then come back. So that's happened a little bit here. And then for me personally, it's just I've had to pause a couple of times because I'm doing some major renovations. I own a board game cafe, so I've been doing renos on that and working there and doing this at the same time. So it's I'm juggling as much as possible, but it's close to being done. Like the tunnel is there. The VFX are all done. Jean-Luc's handed those in. And I wish I could show those off, but they're pretty sick. And it's really just the sound stuff that's left.
Cool. And how is this being delivered? I don't remember.
So that's another weird non-answer that I can give. So I think there's a couple of ways. One, for the backers, the ones who backed it, there's going to be a private screening for those folks. And I'll get into how that's going to happen and how to sign in for that digital screening. For everybody else, I think it's YouTube. But the problem is this project has grown way bigger than like the initial proposal, and there are bigger elements at play behind the scenes that I can't talk about, which may impede timing on certain things that are just out of my control. But it will be seen. People will be able to eventually see this thing for sure. That was part of. Will said he was going to put it on his channel, so that's gonna happen. I could not tell you when that's going to happen. The other issue is it's big enough that it can go into film festivals, and it's got a real good shot at doing stuff there, which is also helpful for back end stuff like bigger projects and stuff like that. So the problem with film festivals is sometimes, depending on the festival, they want like first screening rights, or the equivalent of it can only have been screened in Canada and nowhere else type thing, or we won't screen it. So I can't give that's like a weird long politician's answer to that question.
That's fine. There's some things in the industry you can reveal and some that you want to keep close to the chest, right?
Well, yeah, it's just I don't want to say something and then people dig into that, and then that thing doesn't come true, and then everyone gets upset, me included. So I try to be as vague as possible unless something has been signed on the dotted line, and then I have layers of people that I have to go through. Even though I'm the one that started this project at the very start, I am ground zero for rogue elements. I still have people I have to answer to in order to do stuff.
So have you been getting any outside attention?
Yeah, so Carson right now is down in LA hanging out with I think he's with, I can't remember if he's with Mike Dopid right now or if he is with Patrick Gallagher. Both guys are in the film. And I know, and he's meeting up with John Cassar. And I know they have meetings with people, and I know there's been meetings with other people that work on shows. People have seen cuts of it that are very interested. People have read the script who've really enjoyed it. And all of that stuff is super positive. But again, until someone's like, I love it so much, here's money and here's a contract, that's just win to me. I try not to take my eyes off the prize. I had a project called Time Man that Carson and I have done that it's never been seen. No one's ever seen it. It's like a 14-minute short film about, and I've got a feature film script written on it. And that script, I will make a very long story short. That script got stolen and repurposed and turned into an Amazon Prime feature film starring a certain someone. And it nearly broke me. That's actually what motivated me into getting in touch with Will, actually.
You're making me think I've probably seen it.
It's well, I'll just say what it is. It's allegedly, I can't prove anything. So I have proof, and we had talked to a bunch of lawyers, like high profile lawyers, and they were like, you know what, we have represented you know how like Hollywood releases like 2 of the exact same movie in a year, and you're like, oh, that movie is like the carbon copy of that movie over there. It's kind of the same idea of what happened here. And a lot of like our lawyer was like, oh, this movie is very much like this movie, and we can prove it, and blah blah blah. But it just costs money, and nothing ever gets resolved. So they were just like, you know what, just take your lumps and learn from it. But it stars Sylvester Stallone.
Okay.
And it's on Amazon Prime. I will let people figure that out from there. Anything else I can answer for you?
No, I'm just enjoying this. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. It's my pleasure. I really like talking to the backers, and again, I'm always super appreciative that I've been given this opportunity to make this project and hopefully do bigger things. And even if nothing comes from Rogue Elements, which I highly doubt that's the case, there's already been talks about other stuff. So like there's definitely more to come.
So I call him Drinker, but what do you think of Drinker?
What do I think of Will?
Yeah.
The Drinker?
Yeah.
So I got to hang out with him for a couple of days. Like he came to set. Very cool, chilled, laid back dude. Very nice guy. He lives up to his name. He definitely, I'm not much of a drinker to begin with, but he he outdrank me pretty hard. There's a photo of me asleep on the couch with my phone in my hand. I just passed out on the couch while talking to him with my phone in my hand. I have plans. I hope they come true. I'd like to go. I think if we can do a premiere in Scotland, I'm going to go out there and hang out with him and do a premiere there, because I think it'd be so much fun.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much. I gotta go.
You're welcome. Focus. I appreciate all your questions, and enjoy the rest of your day.
You too. Thanks. Cheers.
Hard to outdrink the drinker. It's true. It is. And what's really sad is like I have like Carson. Carson might be able to hold his own. No, Carson can definitely hold his own. Carson's background was like he did a lot of like toured around with a lot of big bands in the 80s, and that guy's got some stories. Actually, you know what? I'll do a live stream with Carson, and we'll pick his brain on some really fun behind the scenes stories. That guy's been like in every movie you could ever think of, and I've heard so many fun stories that of sets that Carson has been on. Same with Max. Max has been on some really funny. I've heard a lot of funny stories with Max. Festivals, competitions, open. Everyone is on board. Alex Frost. Here, let's show this. Read that. That's my question about festivals, competitions. Surely, yeah. So you know what? The other interesting thing about festivals is you have to really pick and choose the ones that you go in, because a lot of these festivals are like, they're really looking for like artsy fartsy films. Stuff that is just so not for me. Let's put it that way. I've been to enough festivals where I have to put my brain on like autopilot and just like focus on like a point in the room to get through the festival, just because like that stuff's not for me. I'm very much a action comedy kind of guy. Bit of a random question. question, but is AI of any use in visual part of movie making? You know what? I am going to assume yes. I've not used AI on the visual side, but I have used AI on the audio side. So that is definitely a thing, which is really interesting. There's two things about audio for AI currently. One, and it's not there yet, but if I really wanted to, let's say, for example, and this is why they went on strike too. This is part of one of the reasons why they went on strike. Is let's say I needed Derek to redo some lines and he wasn't available. At some point, AI will be good enough that I could just say his lines for him, and the AI will take my voice and turn it into Derek's. It can do that now, but not to the point where you're like, yeah, that's real. But the one thing that AI can do, which is super interesting, is it can really clean up audio. So what you used to have to do to clean up audio, let's say, for example, the parking garage is a good example. So we're filming in the parking garage, and there is, a bunch of different noisy sources. I'll tell you all the noise sources that we had while filming in that parking garage. So you have your ambient noise of the city itself. Then there was a homeless guy that had an RC car who was like driving his RC car around while we were filming, and we had to like give him the boot. There were birds in there that were chirping. There was a guy that had I don't know if it was a chainsaw or I can't remember what it was. It was raining at one point while filming. So I've got all this different ambient noise. It's all garbage noise. And the way you used to clean that up was a combination of things. You would go in and you would use maybe a dehummer and try to focus on a frequency or two to get rid of that. You would use a denoiser, which would clean that up. But the problem with the denoiser is the more you use the denoiser, the more artificial the voice sounds. So you can't get too aggressive with it. And the other thing is you would put this through a parametric equalizer where you would try to get rid of the low end. And that's where most of your rumble is and stuff like that. Isn't audio just dumping certain frequencies? Yes, but you have to be careful, because once you dump those certain frequencies, you start messing around with the vocals. And then you can hear. Maybe what I'll do is I'll do an example of that where I have taken audio and I've pushed it so hard that you can tell that I've done something to the audio. But the point that I'm trying to make, I guess, or where I get off track a little bit, is that was the old way. The new way is there is AI that will take the audio source and it will separate the noise into two tracks. And it does it, I wouldn't say flawlessly, but it does it way better than the old way. And so that's what's been going on, is I've been taking the audio and separating it, and then cleaning up any little traces on this part, which makes it much easier. And then this noise level, then I can really start messing around with that to get rid of like the bird chirping and all that without affecting the voices, which is really neat. So that was a little bit time consuming, actually, because I had to learn how to do that, because I hadn't used the AI for that before. So that if you're ever doing stuff and you've got really crap audio, that's one way to clean it up. Get out of the parking garage with your chainsaw. I think so, they were doing construction outside of the parking garage, which was super duper awesome. Bum, bum, bum. So we're gonna see Skynet in the credits under sound effects. Maybe, yeah. I can't remember what the program is called. It's like LALA.ai, I think, something like that. If you want to look it up. And the neat thing is it's free to try it out. You can try it out. You can literally dump audio in there. What's really cool is you can take your favorite song, like if you wanted to like create a karaoke song or track or whatever, it was originally designed to do that. It can separate audio from that. It can take the guitar part out too, right? Like, what's super neat. All right, Snower Jeers, thanks for popping in. Let's see, what other fun things do I have in my bag of goodies? I don't know why it turned that sideways. That's super annoying. It's probably going to do that for anything I present on my Ooh, okay. Here we go.
Relax. Don't fuck it up. Okay.
Roll cameras.
Okay, no one on the walkies but Fatima and I.
Okay, here we go. Rolling.
Vex is hot.
Okay.
Vex is hot.
Vex is hot.
All right, here we go. 3.
Hold on.
Oh,
That's
sorry.
clear.
Sorry.
Don't get too excited.
Very excited.
Pretty excited. Clear, Fatima. Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
That was fun. That was time consuming. So it's what's interesting about stuff like practical effects, and part of the reason why they've moved away from doing practical effects is it's time consuming, and it's very easy to just say we'll do it in post because that's someone else's problem. Because that took, that setting that up took a while. And the same thing with squibs. We use that sparingly, and for the same reason. It chews up so much time. Bloopers and how was it made? Bonuses would be cool, maybe along with the movie. Yeah, the other thing that's going to happen once I'm done with Rogue Elements is then I just roll into the documentary, which is different than the like little vignettes that we've been showing. And that's going to be, a movie unto itself. Like, that's going to be at least an hour long. The documentary will probably be longer than Rogue Elements. Funny enough. Bloopers. Yeah, here's the funny thing. There wasn't much in the way of bloopers. Like, everyone was bang on. There wasn't any real screw ups on set. There's nothing that was really hilarious. The only blooper was Derek when he kicked the camera and everyone shit their pants. And we've talked about it before, but it's he's fighting the main bad guy and he's getting thrown. And I don't know whose fault it was. I don't know if it was camera's fault or if it was Derek's fault or a combination of the two. Could have been Derek was a little overzealous in his role, but anyway, he rolled and he smashed right into the camera. And you could tell everyone was like, "Ooh!" And I was off to the side with my little monitor, and I was like, "Oh fuck," because the lenses that we were using are anamorphic lenses, and if you saw in like those stills, they're pretty massive. They're very expensive lenses. You could buy a car for the cost of one of those lenses, and I was very worried. Everyone was very worried that he had kicked that and broken a lens. Thankfully, it was just a matte box, but even that was expensive. I think it was like $300 to replace a matte box. Oh, and for those of you who don't know what a matte box is, when you look at a camera, if you see behind the scenes and they have over the lens, they have these, well, it's a box, and the doors can open and close. That's called a matte box, and that's there to let in or block. It's like a shade to block sunlight so you don't get lens flares and stuff into your lenses. But other than that, I really can't think of any other. It wasn't that kind of film. It just wasn't. It was so fast moving that I have a scene that I was working on where Andrea, who's playing Frost, got the giggles very briefly, and that got like shut down real quick because we were chasing the light. Yeah, the light was starting to go down, and we were down to like seconds and had to shoot the scene. And so like the giggles went away real quick. Actually, you know what I do have, if you guys are interested, who's all here? This is 20 people. I have a short film that I did with Carson and Mike Shoot, who's a stunt guy, who also has a small little, he's a stunt guy in one of the scenes here. There's just a little fun thing that we did. I get an itch where every couple of years I just want to do something. And so we did like this comedy action short thing. And it was like, it's so small that I was the director and boom operator. And it was fun. There's some funny moments. Let me see if I can find the file. I think this also helped convince Will, because I've done enough action-y stuff, and this was part of it. I think I've shown him this, and I think part of that helped convince him too. Because that's my bread and butter. I really like action and comedy, and it was really hard not to put any comedy into the film. Well, there is comedy in there. Dietrich's character ended up being, I think he ended up being my favorite character. I know he's a lot of people who've seen the cut really like him just because his humor is very dry and he's such a dick in a funny way. And Brian, who played him, was really fun. And actually, you know what? While I'm looking at this, let's see if I can multitask. There was a day where it was a lot slower, and I had talked to Brian about doing some scenes for fun, and they're just like super duper goofy, funny scenes. So I will cut that together, and you guys will be able to see that at some point. No beer here. Is this the final cut? Let's cut 16. Silver Wave. No beer here. All right. No items in there. 5 steps. Wow. Sorry, I'm just trying to find. I'm so sloppy with my my computer. It's like my computer's the equivalent of like a hoarder's computer. I label things horribly, and I don't put them in the right spot. Let's see. This says no beer here, color corrected 2.0. That's probably good enough. And before we get in, Alex Frost asks, CGI, aren't tools becoming better and easier used, and why most of the modern CGI is mostly... Okay. Let's answer this question first before we get into it. Aren't tools becoming better and easier to use, and why most of modern CGI is... Okay, so part of the problem with this is inexperience. Not on the guys and gals who work in CGI. Those people are wizards. It comes down to inexperience of filmmakers and not understanding and knowing what they want. And so my production company is called Gradual Upgrade Productions. And my whole philosophy is I try to do something different and new each time I do a project. So and that project focuses on something that I want to learn. So Vengeance Remains was my first project where I kind of dabbled in CGI, and I completely did it wrong. Like I knew what I wanted, but I filmed it wrong, and Jean-Luc wasn't on set to tell me any different. And so I think, what studios used to do is they would have workshops and stuff where you could learn this stuff and understand what you want. And that's the other problem too, is like that, you know, they're filmmakers who come in and have strengths on certain things. Being a director is the easiest / hardest job you can do on set. And it's so weird to explain because you're doing so many different things. You're basically, you have your vision and you have to execute it, but you also need to know how to deal with people. You need to know how to communicate with people. You need to know how to negotiate with people, and you have to have, and if you can't do those things, you have to have people put in place that work with you, that understand that vision, who can tell that other group of people how to execute it. So if you don't understand your scene and you shoot it in such a way, and they start doing VFX and you're like, oh shit, I messed up. That's not supposed to be like that. And then they have to start from scratch. Well, then they've just cut their time in half or whatever. And to answer your question, yeah, tools are becoming easier for sure. But it really comes down to filmmaking. You know, I really, on a tangent, love 3D films. And I know I'm on the minority of that, but I love watching films in 3D. And the reason why that never ever took off is there's a science behind 3D filmmaking. And there aren't a lot of filmmakers who actually shot this stuff in 3D because it's really hard. Peter Jackson, Michael Bay, Mark Webb, I think Spider-Man was shot in 3D. Amazing Spider-Man. I don't think it was post. And of course, James Cameron. And what's his face, who did the Resident Evil films? Those are like the few films that were actually shot in 3D. And the reason is because there's a lot of math and science behind that, and you have to know what you're doing in order to pull that off properly. And so most people didn't know what they were doing or weren't interested in it and did the shortcut stuff, and that's why it never took off. As you are pulling a project together to reach the final product, how do you determine that you've reached it and not kept tinkering here and there? Oh my God. Yeah, that is so hard. That's really hard for, I think, anyone who who does any type of art. Is like, when do you reach that final moment? And it's really, you have to, over time, I guess, feel when it's done. And like Rogue Elements is done. For me, it's done, except for that asterisk where that one scene. There's really not much else to do with it. Like, I've come to peace with stuff I don't like about it. I've come to peace with stuff that I wish I could have done differently. Or wish we had more time to do, or a scene that got cut that I wish could still be in there. I've come to peace with all that stuff. And I'm ready to just have it be done. So the last piece of that puzzle is the audio, and tinkering around with that. And that's not as hard for me. That's really just mixing once we get to a certain point. All right. So here's a short. It's called No Beer Here. Only a handful of people have ever seen it. And it kind of it's like 95% done, I think. And it just got put to the wayside because of Rogue Elements, and it took off, and that was more important than 100%ing this other project. Videos. No beer here.
What do you want to do after we're done with this meeting?
Wanna go for a swim?
It's too cold.
Play volleyball?
Knee hurts.
Hop on the Sea-Doos?
Really. With your hemorrhoids, you're going to go see doing.
Oh, yeah. Right. Pizza tonight?
Actually, you know what? Great idea. I can't believe how hot it is out here.
You're wearing a jacket.
Good observation. Where in the hell is Travis? It's been over an hour. He wants us to go over that fight scene he wants us to shoot.
He's always late. He's got 5 more minutes.
Have time for another beer?
I'm up. What's wrong?
Nothing.
We out of beer?
Worse. We only have one left.
That's fine. Hand it over.
What do you mean, hand it over?
I bought the beer. I should get the last one.
So I'm letting you stay here.
So?
What do you mean, so? The host always gets the last beer.
Since when? I want that beer. Hey.
What? You're such an idiot. Have fun. My beer!
Hey guys, thanks for the beer.
It's warm.
You guys are the worst.
Yeah, so that's like a, I don't know, like a 70% done version of that. But that was just like something that we did for like $0 just for fun, for funsies. And let me tell you, it is very hard to, I did I do all the cam? No, I did all the camera operating on the jet skis. And then Jean-Luc did some of it. He actually broke his toe on the very first shot that we did. It was pretty gnarly. He broke like his second toe next to his toe next to his big toe, just went sideways. It was gross. But yeah, the reason I did that was I wanted to see how to shoot on water because I'd never shot on water before. And it's really interesting, all the stuff you got to do in order to like make that look fast or whatever. And it was also my first time flying a drone. And back when we shot that, I don't think DJI had come out with. They had a few things, but I decided to go with the GoPro drone. They had only had one drone, and that drone sucked so bad, and I kept crashing it. I crashed it so many goddamn times, and I got a funny voicemail from Carson like a year and a half later at like 2 a.m, or video message, and it was like him finding like propeller blades in his yard because I kept crashing it into trees when I was trying to bring it home. It's because it was mapped opposite of how like a video gamer would play, right? Like they had touted it as this thing that anyone could fly, but for whatever reason they set it up in a way that was opposite of how literally anyone who's like ever played a video game has like memorized in their brain how to use the thumbsticks or whatever, and there was no way to remap it. Oh yeah, the film about the stare down, that was really fun. We shot that over COVID. Again, for the equivalent of, I think I spent like $1,000 on that. 500 to get the location, and maybe a couple hundred for the costumes, and the rest on food. And everyone else worked for free on that. So that's the nice thing about my like the crew that I put together over the years is so that's like Jean-Luc, myself, Maxim, Max, Carson. I guess let me be clear. Max and Carson are like they were their team before we got absorbed in with those guys. And then Bjorn, who did not DP that. Jean-Luc was the director of photography on the cowboy one. Yeah. So yeah, went off a little off topic there. Are there people in here right now that didn't hear the score? Because I feel like, unless anyone else has any other questions, or if there was something that I missed, I'll probably just finish with that. I'm listening to the 2 tracks again. Because I can hear I don't know if anyone noticed, but my little kid snuck in the room and was like, "Dad, I'm hungry." Because it's supper time here. I have not fed my children yet. And yes, I was drumming my legs. That's like a weird habit I have. Oh, I missed this one. Is it only Drake who has a theme, or all the supporting cast? Right now, it's only Drake, and maybe Volkov, the bad guy, will get a theme. I don't know about Frost or Dietrich. The reason I don't know about Frost or Dietrich getting their own themes is we've just introduced them in this scene. So there's a scene which I call the exposition dump scene, which is where they're going over like the mission that's coming up, and basically giving the audience information. And in that introduction, Ryan's theme is played, and it would be too much to have both Frost's theme and Dietrich's theme play there. And I'm not far enough in the scoring to know if anyone, maybe Frost would get a theme also, because she's got enough scenes where it could warrant her having a theme. And what's his face? Steve Boyle, who plays Kroger. I don't know if he has a theme per se, but he has a sound. I told Maxim, I was like, "Hey man, this guy's like an agent of chaos. He's like a psychopath, and a functioning psychopath. And like when he's on screen, the music should kind of reflect that." They can have their own theme when they do cool stuff. Yeah, that's where it could happen. It's just a matter of figuring out, is that too much? Or, it could just be a theme that plays, and then we just say, yeah, that's Frost's theme. That relates to Frost. Frost's like a little firecracker. So it'll be interesting because Frost's fight with Kroger is having both of those themes kind of clash with each other would be interesting. All right. Well, let's we'll listen to the score one more time. And there's actually a part of the score that it's my favorite part so far, and it's got nothing to do with action. It's actually got to do with like this really sad, it's kind of memory that Ryan's having. And it's like a nice little sad piece of music that I was like, ooh, that's good stuff. I really like that. Not that this stuff isn't good stuff, just. All right. Video file. Let's see if we can find it. It's too bad. I have all this behind the scenes stuff of Ryan Crash training to be Ryan Drake. That just it's kind of pointless now. I've got like all this gun stuff that I never released or anything like that. I'll probably put that in the documentary. Oh, there's a sizzle reel that Jean-Luc put. You guys want to see a sizzle reel? Jean-Luc put this together for the crew to keep them motivated. This was after week 1. This may have stuff that you've never seen before in it, if you want to see it. And then, there's one that Bjorn put together too that I don't think anyone's seen. That's cut to like a Britney Spears song. Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll let you come on for sure. Yeah, I'm still here. Listen, I would rather talk to you than feed my kids, so come on in. Don't tell my girlfriend I said that, please. Oh, here, that link's probably buried so far now. I'll copy that link and put it in here again. Ba-da-doo. Boop. Dun, 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 dun. Devices not connected. Shape Snatch. They will need to connect their mic and cam before you can add them to the stream. Yeah, it won't let me bring you in until that's got itself sorted out. So I will I'll keep rambling to myself. Oh, I have an idea. And I don't know the feasibility of it, but I would love to take this thing on tour and do what Kevin Smith does and like do like a screening of the film, have like a pre-show where we chit chat with the audience and then chat afterwards. I've floated the idea around and I've kind of looked into like how you would have to do that. I think it'd be super duper fun. Yeah, it still says your stuff is not connected. Maybe if I boot you and bring you back in, we'll see. I'm gonna kick. It says kick from studio. I'm not doing this to be mean. Come back in. You want to prevent this person from rejoining, you should ban them instead. Oh, I don't want to ban them. I just want to kick them out of the... Hold on. Is there a more polite thing that said? Nope. Just left by themselves. All right. Phew. All right. So while he's getting himself sorted out, so there's the sizzle reel that Jean-Luc did. And then there is one that Bjorn cut to a Britney Spears song, which surprisingly worked. I think the Britney Spears one might be more fun. All right. So here's the order of things. We'll do the Britney Spears thing first, if I can find that. And then we'll go from there. Video file. This PC. That's all the behind the scenes stuff. I also have, but I need to get permission before I can do this. So I'll ask the actors if I can show I have their audition tapes. Official trailer, no music. Rogue Elements official trailer final with score. Official trailer. Oh, this is all backer stuff. You guys have already seen that. Alternative torture cut. 5-man fight. Mr. and Mrs. Smith 2.0 fight. That's what we codenamed one of the fights is Mr. and Mrs. Smith fight. Rewatch the trailer. Yeah. All right. So let's do the sizzle. Let's do that. Jean-Luc's very good at cutting stuff. He's a very slick cutter. He's actually much better at it than I am. I'm the one who cut the trailer. I thought it was okay, but Jean-Luc is very, very good at this stuff. Let's try that. Yeah, so that was like we played that for the cast and crew during week 2 of shooting, just so everyone could get like pumped up for the rest of the week, because it was a pretty grueling shoot. Like we were in overdrive on that thing. We shot like crazy. Squeezed as much out of a day as we possibly could. All right, let's get rid of this and let's get shape snatch on here. Boop. Hello. Hey, there we go.
Finally, because there's something to do with Chrome. It was saying that the mic was blocked, so it took me a minute.
Ah, no problem.
So how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm actually doing really good, because I got an email that I've made it to the next step in becoming a paramedic.
Oh, nice. That's very cool. Yeah, were we talking about this last time that you were doing that? I seem to recall we did. And I think I have a buddy. I said I have a buddy who's a paramedic. I think I might be.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah.
No, it's cool to be back.
Yeah, nice to have you back. What questions, if any, do you have about Rogue Elements or anything in general, really?
I did have one that kind of came to me the other day, and I suppose it's maybe not directly connected to whatever was being talked about earlier in the stream, because I didn't catch it, I'm afraid. But it's given that, as we found out last week, last stream, that the film is supposed to be mostly canon, I take it.
Yeah.
Was there any point in the books, either past or future, that were really hard to write around?
Yes. So there was so many things that I wanted to like put in here. Like I can't remember if we talked about this last time, but like, so I know Will and I had initially tried to put it a little later in the books because we wanted to have certain elements in there, but it started getting bogged down by like the lore that he'd been bringing in with like the circle and all of that complicated stuff. The thing with Rogue, the thing with the books, if you haven't read them, is the timeline is so all over the place. Not in a bad way. It's just like there's just so much stuff that happens over a period of X amount of years, right? And so that's why we kind of landed on between books. What is it? What did we say? 2 and 3? Yeah, that's it. 2 and 3.
3, I'm pretty sure, yeah.
And there are elements of it in there that take place prior, like during book 1, that are in there that are kind of like a reimagining, mainly just because of budgetary issues, but I thought were important to the story. So the script had a lot of heavy lifting to do, right? So the script had to do a couple of things. One, it had to tell a coherent story, but it also had to appease fans of the book series. And it also had to not break canon, because we are dealing with a guy who has made a living, talking about stuff like that, right? So intentionally destroying your own canon would have been kind of silly. So the one thing that you did bring up, and I'm re-listening to the books. I'm almost done book 2, so I'll be into book 3 again. This will be my 3rd go around in the series, because I gotta keep fresh on all this stuff, because I'm being asked questions behind the scenes where I'm like, shit, I better know the answer to this. And so I think it was you that asked if we had broken canon between Drake meeting Anya between book 2 and 3, and I honestly don't remember the answer if that happens or not.
I think that was me. I'm fairly certain that they don't meet between the books, but I mean.
Yeah, I know. In the 3rd book, he's very surprised at that opening sequence that happens in the book or whatever, and he's like, "Uh-oh, this is not good."
Yeah.
And and how they left in book 2, but I can't remember. And this is the thing, is like I can't remember if it was explicitly said that they hadn't met or if it was just left vague. And we went on, and I can't. It's been a while now, so I can't remember how deep we went into it, or if we just went on the assumption that it was left vague and that we could play around in this like small, like side mission that happens that does sort of advance the plot into the third book a little bit.
Yeah, because I feel like it would be a bit strange if you wrote it in such a way that Drake and Anya don't interact with each other in the short film. It'd be a bit of a. You'd probably feel kind of forced if that was the case.
Yeah, it would. It definitely, and you can't have one without the other because the series is called Ryan Drake, but you know, it's just as much a story about Anya as it is Ryan, right? So it would be weird, A, not to have both in the story, and B, it would be really contrived to have them not meet in this particular case.
And then I think, even more so, I mean, at least in my opinion, that if you were to try and write it in such a way that they don't meet, if you just decided not to include Anya or something, people wouldn't be very happy about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think people. Yeah, I mean, sorry, I do agree with you. I don't think people, fans of the book, would be like, that's weird. And like, even from when we thought we were only going to get, when we were asking for like a very small amount of money, she was always going to be part of it. Whether the rest of the team was going to make it in, I can't quite remember. I'd have to go back and look at the original scripts to see who was in and who wasn't. People who didn't make the cut, just to soften the blow now, Sam's not in it. Cole isn't in it. There's certain characters that are in it for obvious reasons once you get past book 2.
I think you mentioned that before, that Dan Franklin gets a mention.
He does get a mention. I like Dan. In fact, if I had my way, I've already started writing plans for like a season 1 and beyond for Ryan Drake's television series if it were to ever get picked up. And I've already. What's that?
That is brilliant news.
Like, don't quote me on if anything's going to get picked up or if anyone's going to use my ideas. I'm just saying that I have, me personally, and I have talked to Will. He and I have both kind of gone through and kind of created a timeline. And as you know, creating something from a book, you can't necessarily one-to-one create, bring what's in the book directly to the screen. So some things get changed, but not in a way that we're now used to how people change things, right? Like, I am definitely a canon guy. I don't watch any Star Wars stuff because it just breaks my heart and I can't do that. And I don't watch any Star Trek stuff, any of that stuff, because I'm really, like, lore and canon are a big deal to me. Same with Lord of the Rings. Don't watch any of that stuff, the TV series, just because of that reason. But there are some things. There are some plot threads in the book that Will kind of left to the side. And I said, well, how come this person isn't here? And he's like, I didn't know what to do with them. And I was like, oh, well, what if there was like a story that helped push the plot along that could bring this person into the story? Or what if there was a person who's in one of the books that dies? What I think it would make more sense if we brought them in earlier so the audience could get a better grasp on that character, so when we eventually kill them, there's a bigger payoff.
You know, I think I know exactly which character you could be referring to in that case. And you know, I think I've watched pretty much every single one of these streams, and I don't know what the rule is with book spoilers, so I'm not going to say anything, but I think that would be a brilliant idea.
Yeah,
bring certain characters in earlier.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll do like a super nerd Ryan Drake stream where people who have read the books, and it'll just be like you, me, and one other person, and we can just sit around talking about the Ryan Drake series, which I'm fine to do. I really like the book series, and again, like I said, I'm on my third like spin on this thing. So, and again, if you have backed the this week, I'm going to be dropping all of the. If you're a backer and you've backed the book series or whatever, those will be coming out in an email shortly. All 9 books. I've finally have those in my possession as a PDF. So whoever backed at that level will be getting those books. And if you did not back at that level and you want to read the books, you can get them pretty much anywhere online, Amazon or whatever. Also, I would highly recommend the audiobooks. It's read by narrated by a guy named Sam Devereaux. And that guy gives his all in that series. Like, he does all the character voices, and he really helps move the story along with his narration. Very good stuff.
Yeah, well, listen, I'm a little bit out of time now, so I did just have one other question I wanted to ask real quick.
Yeah.
And that would be like, do you need to have read the books to watch the movie and get a good grasp on it? And I only say that because my dad is quite into like that kind of genre of like spy
Right.
books and movies kind of thing. And then he actually watched the Fallout TV show without ever playing a single one of the games, and he thought
Right.
it was really, really weird. So saying, is this going to be like the same
So
situation?
we try to write it in a way that you don't need to have read the books to fully get who everyone is. It's kind of like almost like a sort of like a TV pilot almost. It gives you just enough to, and it was written this way because of like a hook, where if we did our jobs properly, you'd be like, oh, these people are interesting. I just got a surface level scratch at who these guys are, and I would love to see another adventure. That's kind of how we approached the writing for it.
Yeah, I understand what you mean in that case. Like,
Yeah, and it's hard to tell because I'm so deep into it that I have no idea if I won't know until I show it to a bunch of people who have no idea what I've been working on. If they're like, oh yeah, I can follow that. Yeah, I mean, the film is pretty simple. It's a very simple story. So it's easy to follow. It's more like, and I put enough Easter eggs in there too. There are so many Easter eggs. So if you're a fan of the books, there's so much stuff in there that you will not see it on, like you won't see it on the first or second pass through. I promise.
Yeah, and I'd say that it's also the really important things that you need to know from previous things. Like, it's in the trailer. I presume it's a flashback to when Drake rescues Anya from jail and all that. Like, if you don't have something like that, and you just kind of describe whatever happens, people might not
So
get the importance of it.
We do address that in a way that I think people will understand and get. It's in fact, I would even say that it is a motivating factor for Volkov, the main bad guy. That whole situation that happens in book one.
Okay. Well, it's been a pleasure being on again.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah. Hopefully, I'll be back again then. 3 times the charm.
All right. So don't peace out right away, because the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to for anyone who wasn't on the whole time, I'll replay the score. I've got 2 tracks. One track is the intro, so the first few minutes of the film, and then the next track is Ryan Drake kicking ass. All right. So I am going to hit this button. We'll chat next time, and then I will bring on, remove that. Present video file. Whoa. What's this? That's not what I meant to show. You guys have already seen that. This his character name is John Hastings. He is a tough, gruff, definitely ate the American. He's a patriot through and through. Where's Crash? There's Crash. There's Ryan. He has this amazing receding hairline, and he refuses to shave his head, and I make fun of him for it all the time. And I'm allowed to because I'm bald. If you look at our older stuff, you can see his hairline is like to here. And it's just like slowly gone back over time. And he's just like holding on for dear life. All right, I'll remove that. Score for backers. And this next track is Ryan doing his thing. What a fun picture to leave that on. All right, so that's the score. Well, 2 tracks from the score. I feel like we've covered some stuff. Hopefully some of it was of interest. And yeah, I think maybe next time I'll see if I can get Carson to come on. I've asked John Luke to come on, but he's not. He's I don't think he's interested in coming on to talk about VFX stuff. And it'll probably be a little bit before I get Will / the Critical Drinker on here again, just because it's at a point where there's not much he can bring to the table as far as a conversation is concerned. He is now at the point where he's just waiting for me to send him another cut with more of the score in it, type thing. I think once we have like a bigger announcement is probably the next time he'll join us. So yeah, I think the next stream I'll try to get Carson on and we can chit chat about maybe what it was like to produce stuff. So I kind of produced up to a point, basically right up until we got the cash from the Kickstarter, and then Carson kind of took over and he was in charge of a good chunk of that. I still did a lot of kind of producing in the background, but he did a good chunk of it. And, you know, he was also learning stuff along the way. He and I will have some stories to say about, I don't know, unions and all that fun stuff. All right, guys and gals, I appreciate you coming out. As always, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day / evening / I think that's it. All right, cool. See everybody later.